Hello, everyone. I hope you all are back. Please put a yes in the chat box if you all are back. Okay, so let's continue. So we had deployed this model, right? Before we went for the break, we had deployed this model. Now let's very quickly just test this model, right? How we have the GPT model. So let's just test this model out over here. So if I have to test, one way is we can develop an application around it, or the other way is we can use just a second, guys. Yeah. So either you can develop a mod application, a client-based application, and you want your client to use this model. So you can use the endpoint, you can use the key, right? And you can develop an application, write prompts to it. So before we go ahead, let's just understand a little bit about the open AI or the generative AI in the Azure platform. So let's just very quickly just understand certain concepts here. So you will have to purchase an Azure subscription. Okay, you will have to go to the, or you can use a free trial, but I doubt in free trial you will be able to use the Azure AI services. I think that is not included in the free trial. So you will have to purchase one of the Azure subscriptions, go for a pay as you go. So you will have to purchase that. So you'll have to give some credit card details or something like that, and you will be able to do it. Okay, so yeah. So let's look at some of the things. So we saw what is generative AI, anything that generates any content, something that uses LLM, what that is nothing but the large language model. Now, what is an LLM? An LLM is nothing but a model that is similar to your NLP, which is built on top of the NLP, just that here it generates the content based on the question, based on what input you have given, it generates the content based on that. So that is what is basically, it typically uses or consists of the natural language text only, just that it is like generates responses to whatever input, whatever question you ask. Now, whenever you write anything, so it's a question that you are asking, and that is termed as a prompt in generative AI. So when you go to GPT or you go to Chat GPT or you go to Copilot or you go to Gemini or any other chat generation model, that's an LLM only. So if you go there, right? What is the first thing that you do is you ask a question. And what is that question? That question is nothing but a prompt. Okay, it is nothing but a prompt, a question that you ask. Exactly what response do you want it to generate, right? So that is what basically is a prompt. So a prompt is a question. Now, whenever you're giving a prompt, we all know you're asking a question, right? Write an essay on coffee and etc. etc. So we all know that you there is a response that comes to it, correct? There is whenever you ask a question, there is a response that will be given to you. Now, let's say you want that chat session that you're having. Okay, when you're using the GPT-4o model, or even now that you have GPT-5. So you go to ChatGPT and you ask a question. So let's say you want a more precise answer. Okay, let's say you've asked a question like, just one second. Yeah. So you give a prompt to that. And let's say you want a better response, because let's say you ask a question to it. So for example, let's say you are a seasoned marketing professional, okay, and you are working in the sales team and you need some insight to a new CRM software that has been launched. So let's say you ask a question, okay, you are a user, right? You are using the chat session and you are asking a question, correct? Let's say you ask a question because you're a marketing professional, correct? So let's say you ask a question. So consider yourself a marketing professional, okay, or a seasoned marketing professional, whatever you want. Now you have a chat session, you go to Chat GPT, you write some question. So let's say you want to inquire about the new CRM software that has been launched. CRM is customer relation management, right? And you want to get insight to that software, how does it work, and etc. So you would go ask a question. So let's say you are the user. So because you are the user, you give a prompt. Like I said, prompt is nothing but the question that you give, right? So it is called as the user prompt, the input that you give. And based on that input, whatever response you want from the model, from the LLM, that is what is the user prompt. So here, let's say you have the user prompt and you give a prompt, write a one sentence description of a CRM product. Okay, you give a description. You ask the GPT model or a chat GPT, you ask this question and you say, okay, write a one sentence description of a CRM product. So here, what will be the response? Okay, what will the model respond? Let's just see. So what is going to be the response? The response will be a CRM product is a software tool designed to manage a company's interactions with current and potential customers, encompassing sales, marketing, customer service, and technical support. Okay, so this is like a generic answer you get, right? It's a generic answer, but let's say I want to improve this respond. As of now, the model, I gave a very simple question I asked, but let's say I want a better response to this. It is like a generic answer that I'm saying, but let's say you want it through a marketing professional. You want to respond. So whenever you go to, like, let's say any travel agency or bookings you are doing, let's say you want an answer as if it's an actual travel agent who is sitting and is responding to you. So here it's just a generic answer it is given. But what if when you write a prompt and you give a persona to that prompt, right? You define a persona from another's perspective. You want somebody to answer that question for you. So over here, so you just gave a user prompt and you got a response. You just gave a normal question, you asked a question and you got a response. But what if I add more details to it? I say, okay, you now act as a travel agent, and as if a travel agent is, coming up with an itinerary or something, you give me a response. So what happens in this scenario is that your responses are better written, are well drafted. You get more, what we say, you get a better response to your question. So now this same question, if I ask in a if I add a persona. So if I have to add a persona in my prompts, then that is called as the system prompt. So here I tell the system prompt that, okay, you have to act as a seasoned marketing professional, act as a travel agent, act as an AI assistant, act as someone, act as a product manager, act as a customer service expert, act as a teacher. And through that perspective, give me the response. So here if I tell my system prompt that you are, because here I did not give any system prompt. So if I will not give a system prompt here, so I keep it to none. But when I add a system prompt, I say you are a seasoned marketing professional that writes advertising copy for an audience, okay, of technical customers. So here what happens now, if you look at it, the model has a better understanding, understands now what kind of response is required. So here now when the user enters a user prompt, the same prompt, he will enter, write a one sentence description of a CRM product. Okay. So here now the response, if you see, there will be a difference. It will be much better framed. It will be much better and very concise and not very generic. Okay. It is going to be very well drafted. So here you can, some response it will give, it will be like experience, seamless, customer relationship management. That is the full form of CRM. With our CRM product designed to streamline your business operations, enhance customer interactions, and drive sales growth with its intuitive interface and robust analytics tools. Okay, so you can add in a system. So if you see now, you get a better response compared to this, which was very generic, very simple, and very straightforward, right? So here you can see that when you give a system prompt, okay, any prompt you give later on, it will give you a better response. And that is what we are going to test even now. So when you give a prompt, okay, so one is a user prompt, that is the prompt, the question that you ask to the model, to the LLM, and and the other is a system prompt. Because if you want a better response, you add a persona to it, and that is your system prompt, so that your responses improve. You get a much concise, a much better response compared to a generic response. So this is what, when you work on the LLM in your Azure, you use one of the GPT models. Okay. This is how you can use the prompts, complete your chat. So together with the system prompt and the user prompt, that is given, a complete chat session is created, and that is why it is also often termed as chat completion. That is why the response that you get, okay, it is a complete response because there is a perspective, there's a persona that comes in, and through that you get a response to your question that you ask. So that is why it is called as chat completion also. And then we all know that if we have any follow-up questions, any more prompts that we want to write, right? How we have follow-up questions that we ask, the same thing you can ask even over here, so that the history within that session is maintained, right? The history within that session is maintained. So this is what is when you work on the generative AI. These are the things that you need to know. So we have already created a model. So let's go ahead and test that. So over here, I'm going to use the playground where I can test the model. I can ask questions, set the system prompt, give a user prompt. All those things we will be doing over here. So I'm going to open, we have already deployed this model. So I'm going to open this model in a playground. So go to that model, click on open in playground, and you will see the deployment here. Can you see something called as the system prompt? So this is your system prompt. So let's say, so as of now, it is acting as an helpful AI assistant. But let's say I don't want it to act as an AI assistant. I want it to act as a history teacher. And whatever questions I ask, I wanted to give a response as if it's a history teacher, or if it's a travel agent, or whatever you like. You can add that over here. Okay, so you can even do that. So we can just change the system prompt, and we can say you are so here we will just say you are a history teacher who can answer about past events all around the world. Okay, so this is like a system prompt. I'm saying act as a history teacher, and whatever questions I ask you, please respond to it. Please respond to it in that way. So I will have to apply these changes. So click on the apply changes so that it updates this message. And now, so you can see here all the things. Now you have to go ahead and start answering. Ask questions to it. So here just enter your questions. What are the key events in the history of India? So you can ask something like this. What are the key events in the history of India? So it will go accordingly, and it will give you a very long answer right till I don't know where, colonial rule and everything. You can see year by year, whichever were important events in our history. Can you see it is listed down post-independence, before independence, all those kinds of this thing. It starts right from the Indus Valley, goes up till the abrogation of the Article 370 that was done in 2019. So you can see these were very important events in our history. So you can even ask specific questions like when did, what are the important events of World War II? You can ask something specific also. So you can ask World War II, any history related question if you have. So it will talk about that. What was it year wise? Because we know the war was there for like 6 years. So you can see that over here it is giving you all all the things related to your. Okay, so you can see because you are given it as an history teacher, but if you change this prompt, okay, if you change this, you say you are an AI assistant that helps people find information. Okay, so if you add this prompt and just make some changes here, apply these changes. And now, if you ask the same question, let's see what kind of response it gives. What was the question for? What are the so more or less it is giving you the same this thing. Okay, more or less it is. But if you ask something else, so it might give you can just check. I think here it's giving the same this thing, but it has to be a little different. But here it's giving you the same this thing. You can ask other questions also. So let's say I am planning a trip to Paris in September. Can you help me? So you can ask questions like this also because it's an helpful AI assistant. So here it's just helping you to plan a trip. How can you go? What can you see in Paris? It is just helping you do that. So you can see it's giving you a response here. And it is suggesting a 5-day itinerary also. So you can, of course, enhance this. You can make it as a travel agent who helps people do the bookings and recommendations and etc. All those things you can definitely add here. Where is a good location in the city to stay? So because it's a follow-up question, okay, so it will of course consider Paris only as the city because you had asked the question. So which city in Paris or what part of Paris can you stay? Which is a good location to go and which part of Paris you can consider to stay because you might be having some you might be traveling alone, you might be traveling with a child or whatever. So you might want to consider some safety and etc. So that is why you are asking this kind of question to it. So this could be the same. Now you can add follow-up prompts because it's an iteration that is going on. So you can add up another prompt. So you can say, can you give me more information about dining options near the first location. So here we don't have to specify that. It will pick up from the earlier prompt, right? Whatever response it had given, sorry, it will pick it up from there and it will give you the response based on that. You can just see the response, whatever it gives you. So you can just read through it, ask more questions. You can also ask what 3 places do you recommend in Paris? Okay, all those reasonings or whatever you want to see. You want a list of top 10 sites, which are the most popular ones, etc. All that information, if you want to get, you can do that now using this generative AI model. So it's very simple. You can see, you can test this. Now you can even write a client application, like I said. So there is a view code option here. So if you guys are from the coding background and you want to write a question, you want to develop this application and you want to send it to your client that, okay, use this model. You can use this model and you can get like a chat sort of a this thing. Okay, you can get a chat sort of uh, interface your chat session and you can use this model and you can use it in your own client side. So this is one thing. Now you might be thinking like, what will be the difference between OpenAI and Azure OpenAI? Because here also we are using the OpenAI model, correct? Then what is the difference between the two of them? Because if I can write chat session, I can use Chat GPT and I can do the same thing, then what is the difference between the two? So the first difference between OpenAI and Azure OpenAI is OpenAI is a public access, right? Anyone can come. It's public. It doesn't require it just requires your login credentials and you can go and anyone can access it. But if you have to use the Azure OpenAI, first of all, you need an Azure subscription, correct? And then only you will be able to go and use this playground and start. And if you have to create now using the OpenAI service, okay, the general OpenAI, not the Azure OpenAI, you don't get that endpoint and key, right? There is no endpoint and key. Why? Because it's a public access. Now, like I said, you want to build a client application and use this model and develop a client application around it. So you can't use the OpenAI models that are there. There is no way you can get a key, use that model, get an endpoint, and use that model and share it with the client and say, okay, you can consume this model. It's open. That's what I said. It's public. Whereas when you work on Azure, every model, anything that you deploy will have an endpoint and a key. Correct? So whenever you have to use them, there is a private networking that is happening. It's not something that is, first of all, accessible to everyone. You need an Azure subscription. And along with every model, you get a key and an endpoint, which you need to share it with the client. Then only the client will be able to use or consume the model, right? Will be able to consume that model. So this is what is the first difference. Okay, one is a public access, the other is a private networking. Now, when you go to OpenAI, um, do you get a option like when you go and open chatgpt.com or you go to the go to the OpenAI service and you log in and do you get any option there to select a region? Yes, guys, do you get any option to select a region or it just directly gives you a chat session, right? It immediately just gives you a chat session. You don't get an option to select a region. Whereas in Azure, whenever you create, now when we created the project, there was an option of a region. Either you do it from the Azure portal or you come here. And when you were deploying the model, creating the project, we always got a option to select the region. And we all know the region was East US that I had selected. You can also change. So there is this list of regions that is there where you can deploy the OpenAI models, right? But when you go to OpenAI, the normal OpenAI, this thing, you don't get any option to select the region and develop or create that chat session. By default, the region that is selected because OpenAI is in the US, it's a US based company. So by default, all the your application or that session is located in which region? In the United States region. Whereas here you get the option in which region do you want to deploy your model. Because if closer the model is, we all know that there will be lesser latency. right? Responses will be faster, right, to the questions, the prompts that you give. And your application will run faster in comparison to the US location because you don't get that flexibility over there. Whereas you get a flexibility over here to decide which region to. I did go for the US. Why? Because I have cost restrictions, I have other projects also to create and etc. But for you all, if the main purpose is to work on AI, on Azure, then you don't have to worry, you will buy that subscription or your enterprise will buy that subscription and you will be able to develop an application around it. Correct? So this is the other difference, the location, the global distribution that Azure has that OpenAI doesn't have, right? It is only based in the US, whereas here you get all the other regions because it's using what? It's using Azure servers. The Azure compute is being used. Whereas in OpenAI, we don't know. The servers are based where? In the United States. So there is going to be latency, little bit of delay in getting the response, whereas here you will get, because you have dedicated servers in the Azure cloud, depending upon the region you select, right? So that is another difference between your Azure OpenAI and OpenAI. So this is the difference. And of course, on the OpenAI, you can't develop any client applications. You will have to, you require endpoint and key to give the permission to use that model, right? And that is only possible when you use the Azure AI Foundry. So here I've already written the code. I'll just explain to you all. It's a Python code. Okay, it's a Python code that is there. So I'll use one of the editors. So I'm going to use a VS Code here. And we have the application. So this is the code. It's a very simple code. It's just that you have to use. So like I said, you don't have to learn how to create a model from scratch. That model has already been created. Okay, this model has already been created. You're just using that model and you are writing a, you're building an application around it. So here, whenever you are working with any service, okay, whenever you work on any Azure AI service, including the OpenAI, so there is an environment file that always goes with it. Okay, there is an environment file wherein in the environment you store the environment variables. So it's a .env file. So it's an environment file that you use. And in that, you give the endpoint your keys that is there. Okay, you will be giving all of that information over here. Okay, no, I can't. I'll share the GitHub. I'll tell you where you can refer to it. I can't share this code with you all, but I'll tell you where it is and etc. All the link, I'll share it with you all. But you'll get it from that GitHub link. So don't worry. I'll share the GitHub link, but I will not be able to share the code with you all. Okay. So along with that, you have this environment file that is there, and you have this code. So what we are doing, we are just writing. So this is my main application. So instead of hard coding the endpoint and the key, okay, in the code, I'll just import it or I'll just get it from my environment variables file. So we'll just extract it from there and using that model, okay, using that model, we will develop the chat application. We will create a chat application around it. So you can use, so here I've used the Python language and I have developed the application. I doubt this will work, but we'll just see. So I'm going to enter the endpoint, the deployment name, and the model key. So how am I going to get this? So I've already deployed my model. So if you see, this is my endpoint. So just copy this. So this is going to be the endpoint. To that, I'll be giving the deployment name. So this is your deployment name over here. And we will be giving the key, the model key. So this is your key. Just save all of this. Yes, you can use C hash, but I think it has been deprecated. So no, C hash you can't. They have stopped using C hash now. Only Python is encouraged. So yeah, you can't use. Earlier you could, right? They were giving us codes for both, but now both of them have been, yeah. So you can't use C hash over here. So now let's just run this application. So I'll just come here and I will say Python space chat app.py. We can just ask some question. So over here, what is the fastest animal on Earth? Let's see if it gives a response. Yeah, so I knew this will give me an error. It's not able to detect the model. Okay, but if you run it, once I share it, you can just try this out. But this is, you can ask a question to this and you will see some response. So this application, then you go and share it with your client. Okay, you can share this application with your client and you can use that model, consume that model in the client side also. So all you have to do is you'll have to give your model name, model endpoint, all these details you will have to give it, and then only you can go ahead and you can use that and use that model, that is the GPT-4o model, and you can ask questions to it. So here it is going to run a continuous loops like how it did it in the playground. It's just that we have written a code. So you can view this code also here. So one of the ways you can do this. Okay, so you can definitely, let me just do one thing. Okay, I don't know. This is not working for some reason. There's some library issue. But yeah, but this is the code. And I'll share this GitHub link with you all also. So this is how you can use the generative AI. Okay, you can deploy any model that you like and you can work with it. So here you can also use your own data, write your own custom data if you have. So here it is using the internet data as the source to fetch all the data and get it, right? So you can definitely also use add your own source of the data and you can work with it. So here I am going to create a new model. So I'll go to the model catalog and in the model catalog, I am going to search for another model. So here I need something that is going to help me get personal or connect to my personal data or the data source. As of now, here is the internet, but I want to get, let's say, data from a blob storage or a Cosmos DB. My custom data is present, my own data is present. So I want to get the data from there. So I will have to deploy another model along with the GPT-4o model that I have. So I'm going to go with the embedding model here. I'm going to use because I want a vectorization, which is one of the things in the LLM, right? Up on top of NLP, like I said, it is built. So one such thing is embedding, and in within embedding, you do something called as vectors, wherein one point is linked to the other. So that is a different concept. We don't have time to even understand that here. So I'm just going to use this model. I'm going to very quickly deploy this model. So I'm going to click on the use this model button. And I'll just customize the tokens here. Just reduce the number of tokens that I have. It's too much. So I'll go with 50, 51. So you can decide 50, 51 is fine. I'm not able to adjust it to 50. So I'll go with 51. But if you're able to adjust it, so just do that. And rest of the things, I'm going to keep it as it is. Okay. And just deploy this model. So now when I deploy this model is only going to be deployed in the same project that I had earlier created. Okay. So if you recall, we had created that. So it's going to be deployed here only. So if you go to models and endpoints, can you see two models are now deployed here? Right? We have two models deployed here. So this has already been added, correct? Now, like I said, we need to give our own data, right? We need to give our own data. So I'll be loading my own custom data over here. So let's say I am a travel agency. I work at a travel agency or I have my own travel agency, which I'm calling it as Margie's Travel. And from there, I have certain brochures, okay, where I arrange travels for people to travel to New York, to Dubai, to Las Vegas, and such cities, let's say. So I have certain brochures. So if you go to the internet, you get you get a very general answer, right? Very generic answer. It is going to give it to you. But here, let's say I want to use my custom data and tell the end user that, okay, you come here and you ask questions related in my agency. You come to my website and ask questions. So there you can't give your internet data and come up with an itinerary and etc. Because let's say you don't, um, what will say, you don't probably organize travels to all the cities in the world or to all the countries in the world. A select few countries only you organize travel for people. So why do you want the entire internet's data? Whereas what your company does, you want to put that here, right? You want to customize it. So let's add that data here. So I'm going to come to the data and indexes in my assets, and I'm going to add a data here. Okay, I'm going to add data here. So I'm going to click on just refresh this. Why can't I see that option? Hmm, can't see the option. Just creating another project because there's one option that I can't see. It has done that. I'll very quickly deploy two models again because it's a new project I had created. So I'm going to deploy the GPT-4o model. Okay, we have these models here. Now I got this. Okay. So now let's just add our custom data first because like I said, it was using the internet data. So let's just add the custom data. But yeah, you can see the models here. So I'll click on this new data and I'm going to upload data over here. I'm going to upload a file over here. So I'm going to select new connection, or we can just click on upload files and folders. I'm going to upload it from my local system. So I'm going to browse for it over here. So I'll upload a folder, click on the folder option, and I already have this thing downloaded. So I have this. So in this, there are around 6 brochures that are there. Okay, there are 6 brochures. No, database server and Cosmos DB is there. but you don't have database server or Snowflake. There are very few data stores from where you can connect to the data, which can act as um, which can act as data sources, data store, or we also call it as a knowledge base. So some of them only can act as either you have your local system, or you can use the blob storage, or you can use Cosmos DB, but you can't use Snowflake. There's no connection that you can have. Okay. No, there is no way you can host this on your local system. So if you're using Azure, that is why you have that endpoint and key, right? That is why you have the endpoint and the key. So because you have to host it, that is why I told you the main difference also I told you between OpenAI and Azure. Because Azure is a secured network. Not everyone, until and unless you have the authentication and the authorization, can use that model. That is why you have that key and the endpoint, right? If you don't have that, it is in OpenAI, it is open to everyone, public access. So anyone can use that. But in Azure, because you have that endpoint and key, which on the local system, if you have to make it available to anyone, not everyone can use the model. Only a select people whom you share the application with. So that is not possible to host it locally. There is no way because it requires a lot of compute. You need your own private cloud for it. And you need to invest a lot. First of all, that is also there. So if you have that kind of investment, I don't think so. You can, then you'll have to know how to create a custom model. You'll have to create your own model and deploy that model on that server where you want to host it. So instead of Azure, but yeah, it's like the difference between CapEx and OpEx. So you need a lot of CapEx first, create your own private cloud, then deploy a model. Okay, deploy a model. So that is something you will have to do. But here on Azure, you have the model created. Just buy an appropriate enterprise and you have security, you have Key Vault, you have Microsoft Defender, you have so many things. So you can definitely host it on cloud with a lot of more security than on the private cloud, right? So once this is done, just click on the next button and give it a name. So here I'll just call it as brochures. Just click on the create button. So it's loading the data over here. Okay, and if you just see, it has loaded the data, all the 6 files. So can you see not all countries, Margis is organizing travels, only select few, and this is about the company, Margis Travel, that is there. Now over here, because we have created, now I told you, one of the products of Azure is the Azure AI search. What does the Azure AI search do? I told you it's like a search system that extracts information, right? I talked about the case loss. So what were they doing? They were extracting information from the different cases. When you have a similar case and you want to look for or extract that information, you go to that data and you extract using a keyword, probably the name of the case or something related to it, and you search for that particular information. And based on that, your Azure AI search will extract that information and give it to you. So here also, because I'm doing a custom, I've added my custom data. So I need to go and search for that specific data over here. Correct? We need to go to the source and search in that source. So for that, we need to create an Azure AI search. We need to create an Azure AI search. So I'm going to go back. And over here, we have this indexes. So I'm going to create an index. So this index is going to help me search for any specific data that I want, that I've just stored, whether it's in the blob storage or it's in the Cosmos DB. It will go and search for the data I wanted to extract. So over here, we will be adding a new index. So I'll just click on the new index. Select your source. It is going to be the brochures. Okay, so these are the only sources from where you can get the data. So here I'm going to use the data in Azure AI Foundry because we have loaded the brochures folder here. So just select that, click on the next button, and we will be creating. So before we go ahead, we need to create an Azure AI search. So one thing is you can either create it here. Okay, you can create it here. Just click on this. It will take you to the Azure portal, and you can definitely create the Azure AI search here, or you can come to the Azure AI Foundry and you have this Azure AI search. So it's one and the same thing. It's up to you all. So either you click on that or you come here and it will just switch the directory. And you will have to create. So using the Azure AI search only, it will be able to create or look out for the data, specific data for you. So here we will go with the webinar and I'll give it a name. So this is a webinar search, AI search service. So there's only one. I'll go with this region only. I'll stick to whatever region is there. You can select any other region you like. I'm just changing the tier and I'll go with the basic tier here. We'll go with, try and go with East US too. We'll keep this. I'll just change the tier again. And just click on review plus create. Once it does a validation, just create the service. So this is how you create the AI search. So AI search, I told you any document or any data you want to search from. Okay, so you create an index. Using that index, it will search through that knowledge base that you have. It could be a blob storage, it could be a Cosmos DB. It will search for from that, and whatever data you need, that index will extract and give it to the user. So here, because we want specific this thing, so the resource has been created. Now I'll go to the AI Foundry and we will just very quickly search for the AI search service. So this is the service we just created. So click on the add connection here and it will add. So it is basically linking your model with the AI search so that both together, okay, both together will come and they will search the data. It will help you scan. So you will ask a question in the Azure AI playground in the OpenAI model. You will ask a question and then Azure AI service will take that data, will get an index, use that index and search the data in the knowledge base. And whatever it gets, it will extract that data and give it to you. Okay, so this is what you have to do. So you need an Azure AI search. I'll give it a name. So index name, as I've been telling you all, who will go and search for that data. So whatever you want to search, it is going to be mapped to the index and it is going to extract that data. So just change this name. I'll give it a much more logical name. Rest all the other things, I'm going to keep it as it is. Just click on the next button. And rest all the other things here that we have, we will be sticking to this. So we are using the text embedding model. Ensure you have that here. So just click on the next button. Yes, it is using that. So just click on the create button. And it is going to go. So there are three stages that it is going to create. One is create and chunk and embed the text tokens. So there are tokens that are created and those tokens are just being added to the index that we have created. So that is the first step that it is doing. The second step, it is again going to create the Azure AI search index. So the brochures index that we were created, all the tokens, first of all, it is going to break down the data, create tokens out of that. And once the tokens are created, okay, it is going to go and map them to the index. So whatever you search, that index is going to use that, and it is going to go to your data, the custom data that you have added, and search through those documents and fetch the data. So it's a little lengthy process. Let's just wait for it. We'll just wait. I think it will take some time. So till the time this is getting done, let's do one thing. Let's go with the next topic. So here we are just let it develop. Okay, till the time we will do one thing. We will go and work with the agentic AI. Let's just explore some of the agentic AI over here. How to create an agent, what is an agent, etc. All of that. Let's just very quickly see that over here. So what I'll do is let this process go on till the time I will open a new Foundry. So let this go in the background. I'll open a new Foundry service and we will work with the agentic AI. So what is an agentic AI? Basically, an agentic AI is, for example, like, let's say you work in an enterprise and you want to, um, and you want to know what is your company's expense policy. So you had done an outstation travel and you want to reimburse all the expenses that has been done. Okay. And you want to know how can you claim that expenses. So not just that, you just don't want to know that, but let's say you want somebody to write or somebody to submit those expenses on your behalf. Like how we used to do this travel booking earlier. We used to tell an agent, right? Hello, this is my details. I want to fly to Bengaluru. This is my date. This is when I want to return. This is the time I want to go and reach Bengaluru. And this is the time I will be leaving from Bangalore. So what was the agent doing? You would call him and tell him, okay, these are the details you have. He would book the flight for you, the departure and return flights. He would book it for you, right? So a human was there and he would do it for you. Correct? A human would sit there and do it. Now, let's say I don't want a human. I want it to be automated. Okay, I want this entire thing to be automated. I want an agent, like how earlier we had a human agent who would do it. Let's say I tell the AI to do that. And that is what basically is agentic AI. So what is agentic AI? It's nothing but an agent that you create, which any task you tell, it is not just going to go search for it, it is also going to implement that particular task. Okay, it is also going to go and implement that task for you. So that is what is an agentic AI. So earlier we had those agents. Now, even now, when we do stock price or there's an agent, right, who books, okay, this is where I want to invest, this is where I don't want to invest, helps you manage the stocks. But now let's say instead of that, I put a system and I automate that. That, okay, you go, this is you, the agent has been given a set of like expense policy that it has to claim. So it will do that. You just say, okay, this was the amount. Let's say you had taken the client for a breakfast. So you had taken for what? What kind of meal had you taken the client? You had taken him for a breakfast. This is the cost. And so what will the agent do? It will go to the expense policy. It will look for, okay, what is the breakfast? Is it going to be reimbursed? What is the maximum limit? Because you can't just spend anything. You have to keep a budget, right? And in that only whatever hotels and everything you get, you have to accommodate in that and then you travel, right? Because there's a set budget. Beyond that budget, you can't expend. I mean, you can't pay, right? So the organization tells you in this budget only, this is your breakfast, what we say, this is your breakfast budget. go and wherever you want to take the client, you take it. So all that details, where is it going to be put? It is going to be put in that expense policy form. So you need to tell the agent about it, right? So that it follows it, understands from it, and now when you give your own input, it will, from that document, it will extract the information and even do the claim for you, right? It will also do the claim for you. So over here, let's see how to create a very simple example. I'm going to show you all on how to create the this thing. So I'll come to the Azure AI Foundry portal, come to create an agent, click on this, give it a name, or you can use a different, or you can use the same, or one thing we can do, sorry, is we can go to the same project. And in this same project, can you see on the left hand side, you have this agents tab. So I'm going to click on the agents here. I'm going to use this same project only because I don't want to create another project. So I'm going to use this same project, and inside this same project, I'm going to create an AI agent. So here I'll select the resource, click on the let's go button, and we'll just wait for this till the time. So over here, I'm going to create, it has created a new agent. So this is the agent. I'll rename this. Okay, I'm going to rename this agent. So I'll call this, so it has used the GPT-4o model only. And I'm going to call this, I'm going to give it a different name. I'll call this as an expense agent. Okay, and I'm going to use the same model. You can see, you can use the other models if you have. So any other model you want to use, so you can just select it from the deployment. But since this is a chat sort of interface, it's like a chat. So I'm going to go with the chat. Any other model you want to use, you want to create also, you can even do that over here. Now we need to give data to this. We need to explain. We need to build the agent so that it can answer questions, right? What we say, the expense policy related questions it can answer. So we need to give that data over here, right? So I need to add that source. So where do I do? I will go to the, I'll come here. I will select my agent. And before that, I'll just give a set of instruction to it, like how we talked about the persona in our GPT OpenAI playground that we were using. I told you about the persona, right? How does the persona help us? It gives you a more precise answer. So the same thing I'm going to do even over here. So I'm going to give it a set of instruction as to how this agent, okay, as to how this agent is supposed to work, right? That is what I will be giving here. So I'll say you are an AI assistant for corporate expenses. You answer questions about expenses based on the expense policy data. If a user wants to submit an expense claim, you get their email address, a description of the claim, and the amount to be claimed, and write the claim details to a text file that the user can download. So here what we are doing, we are giving like a set of instructions like how persona we had talked about, right? We had discussed about the persona. So the same thing we are giving here. We are telling the agent how you are supposed to act. We're giving it a description and instruction. So if somebody submits, wants to claim an expense here, okay, so what are you supposed to do? You are supposed to, first of all, ask the user about his or her email ID. Okay, once they give you that, okay, ask the amount and also what is the description of the claim? Like I said, is it for breakfast, lunch, dinner, or travel, or whatever? Okay, just go to that expense policy data document, search for it, and give it a just 1 second, everyone. Yeah. So over here, I'll just give that expense explanation. Okay. And it will go to that document and it will extract that data over here. So we need to first of all add that document. So I'll go to the knowledge and I will add that data. So I'm going to upload a file from my local system. Very this thing simple. So I'll use so over here I'll give it a name. I'll call it as the knowledge, sorry, expense. Okay, this is the name I'll be giving and I'll just upload a file here, a single file. So select local files and come here. I have the file downloaded. I'll just upload this file. So this is the document. We have not started anything yet. So I'm just going to upload and save this. So here we can see one file has been added. Now, when you're developing an agent, I told you one of the things that it is supposed to do, it is supposed to implement an action, right? It is supposed to automate that task and implement it. Like, for example, I told you, okay, it has to, you have given an expense claim. Now, once it has got that file, it has got all the details. What is it supposed to do? So here, if you remember in the instruction we had given, if a user wants to submit an expense claim, you get their email address, a description of the claim, and the amount to be claimed. And write the claim details to a text file that user can download. So this is the action that it's supposed to do. That whenever if the user wants to claim the expense. So first of all, you ask the email ID, you ask the description and the amount of the claim. And once you get that detail, create a different file or write it to a text file, which the user can download. Okay, which the user can download. So over here, this is what we will be doing. So we need to add the action. So just click on the add. Now this actions, you can do it in a different, you can do it in multiple ways. So one of the ways is you can use the code interpreter. Now what is this code interpreter? So it's a knowledge base, just how we are adding our custom data, where here also we are creating a knowledge store, right? We are creating a knowledge base. So it's the same thing, wherein I've uploaded my file. Because it's a custom data, so again, I'm creating a knowledge store, a knowledge base from where the agent is going to go and extract the data. So that is what is basically the name, just the name I've given to it, nothing else. Now I'll have to add an action. We need to tell the agent what, because we have told what task is it supposed to do. No, it's a Word file. It's not an Excel file. So it's a Word file. So this is the file that I'll show you all the file also. Okay, so this is the document. So that is what I've uploaded. So I need to upload that data somewhere. So that's what we have done here. Now we need to give a set of action because we told the agent, okay, you are a expense agent who is claiming the expenses. So it needs to perform the task, right? Whatever task we have told it, okay, go ahead and perform that. So over here, we need to tell the set of tasks and you can do it in different ways. So if you click on the add button here, so you can tell the agent that, okay, you can go like you want to fire some HTTP URL, some event you want it to happen, some Azure Logic app, some kind of code you want it to implement. So you can tell what kind of action. So here I told you, okay, I want it to be written to a text file. That is the next sort of action which I can download. And that is what the agent is also going to do. So you cannot just write it in a code, but it's, let's say you're aware how to write a function and you want a function to be implemented. Okay, so either you use a custom function or you can use the Azure functions, use the Azure logic apps, and whatever you want to fire, any trigger you want this action, this agent to do, you can specify that also over here. So these are the tools you can use in order to add the action. So here I'm going to use the code interpreter, very simple. Okay, and just click on the save, nothing I'm going to do here. So just add the code interpreter. And now once that is done, let's test the agent, right? Let's test the agent over here. So now to test the agent, we will try it in the playground. So just come up, click on the try in playground button. Let's just look at the status here. So it's almost there. We will almost there. So here now you can just go ahead and ask some questions. So you can say what is the maximum I can claim for meals. So you can ask this and this agent will go to the document, the expense policy document and extract the data from there. So you can just ask. So whatever information is there in the document, it is going to extract from there. So can you see? It is saying that for every meal, it is $50 per day. And this includes breakfast, lunch, and dinner at reasonably priced establishments. Okay, excluding alcohol and lavish meals. Okay, so here, this is a simple question you have asked. Now you can ask another question, a follow-up question to this. And you can say, I would like to submit a claim for a meal. So here it is going to submit. And if you recall, I told you when a user is going to submit a claim for anything. So I had told the instructions, if you recall in the instructions tab here, if you go to the setup, we had given an instruction, right? You are this thing. And if a user wants to submit and claim, what is it supposed to do? It is supposed to ask questions. What is it supposed to ask? What email, the description, whether it was a breakfast, lunch, or dinner, or and the amount for it. So over here, just ask this question. So it will generate some response. So it will ask for those things over here. So can you see it is giving you that. So you can just give the email ID. So first of all, submit. So you can add one at a time also you can add. So you can say fred@contoso.com. You can add anything. So it is going to take this, acknowledge this, and it will ask you for the other information. So can you see provide description of the meal and the amount? So you can go ahead and add that. So you can say breakfast cost me $20. So you can just add this, and now it has got the information. So what it is going to do, it is going to take all that information and it is going to create a downloadable. Can you see it is created a downloadable file, which is a text file. It is going to be, can you see it has created? Why? Because we told in the instructions that create a text file, right? So here just click on the open file and you will see it's just put in all the details together. That's it. So this is your text file that it has created. But can you see this is like how an agent is working? It automated everything, right? I told I wanted to second. Yeah. I wanted to extract the information, right? And it did that from the document and it gave me the output here. So let's just see in the chat playground. Okay, this is still working. So guys, now let's do one thing. Till the time this is getting created, okay, let's take a break of 15 minutes again. Let's take a tea coffee break of 15 minutes. Yeah, the code interpreter figured it out, all of that, because there's some code already given to it. So it figured it out and it extracted the email, extracted the amount, and just created a document out of that. So agent actually took the name and sorry, the email ID, the description, and the amount, and the code interpreter then converted it to a document, a text file, and it was easily downloadable. So those actions, that action was done by the code interpreter. Okay. So here now, guys, let's do one thing. Let's take a 15-minute break. Okay. And once the break is over, I think by the time this will also get complete. So we will see this after the break. So let's take a quick tea coffee break. And after the break, we will look at the other services. So this was the generative AI, right? And the agentic AI that we saw on the Azure cloud. So we will see the other services very quickly. That is the language, the speech, okay, and we will see the image. Okay, so one example of each. We will see how you can use them. So now let's take a break. I'll start the clock for 15 minutes and then we will continue with the session. Hello everyone. I hope you all are back. Please put a yes in the chat box if you all are back. So here the index is ready. So we can just go ahead and continue. So here the index is ready. So you can see all the three steps have been done. Now we need to go and test this. Okay, we need to test this over here. So this technique, guys, that we are actually implementing on our model. So here the model has already been created, correct? This is what we had discussed. The model's already been created. We are just using that ready-made model, and now we have added our own data. So this technique where the model is learning from our or is learning, okay, from new things, new data that gets added, is called on the LLM. It is called as grounding. So what is grounding? It is basically some specific data you want to extract. Like I said, you're going to Margie's Travels website, and from there you just want to get their data. So normally if you go to a chat session, it will give you generic information, but here it is concerned with Margie's travel travel agency only. So here it is learning from a custom source, correct? It is, you're getting some specific data. So over here now, if you go to models and endpoints, go to this model and go to the playground. And as of now here, I will ask a question. Okay, a very simple question. I'll say, where can I stay in New York? So can you see it is giving you a very generic answer is being given to you, right? It is going over the net and it is looking for the hotel options and etc. Luxury, boutique. A very generic answer is given to you by the data. Why? Because it's going to the internet, the source is the internet from where it is getting the data. But now I need to add my own data, correct? So I'll have to first of all tell the model that instead of using the internet data, I want to give my own custom data. So we need to add that here. So come on the left hand side, expand the add data and add a data source. See here, we had already created the index. So we will be using that same index, which will be mapping going to the data source and fetching the data for us. Okay, we'll be fetching the data for us. So here, again, if I say, where can I stay in New York? Okay, if I ask this question, now what it will do, it will go to that source, the Margie's files that we had shared, and we had in that document, there were certain hotels that is mentioned. So if I go to that document, okay, if you go to New York document, you will see the names of hotels and everything, all the description is clearly given here. So only this much data is presented over here. Okay, you can see this much data is only there. You can also develop an application around it. Okay, you can definitely write an application. Same only application will be there. Okay, it's exactly the same. I'll share the link. You can try it out. Write a Python application and you can run this. So all this you can do. I don't know if I have a RAG application here. No, I don't have one, but you can definitely, I'll share the link with you all. You all can definitely do this. So this is called as the grounding technique in the data model over here. This is called as the grounding technique. Grounding meaning it is learning, but it is also a part of the um, retrieval augmented generation, that is the RAG. So one such technique in this is the grounding technique. No, you can't. You will have to give the endpoint and the key that you will have to give in your Python code. And then the Python code, when you run it locally, it will call that particular service or the agent. Yes, you can do it with the agent. So you have a lot of tools also to do it on the agent. That is also possible. But again, you require an endpoint and the key. So that you will have to give. I don't have the code for the agent. But like I said, I'll be sharing it with you all. So you all can definitely go and practice them. Okay. Now, this is how you can see the source from where. So you can, if you expand the references, you will also the source from where this data is getting extracted. So this technique is called as the aug retrieval augmented generation that is being performed over here. So this is your generative AI. Okay, this is how the generative, some of the things of generative AI, there are lots of things in the generative AI. Yeah. Now let's look at, so we looked at the agents, we looked at the generative AI. Now let's look at some of the computer vision service. Okay, how can you use the computer vision service in the Azure portal or on the Azure AI Foundry? So here what we are going to do, I'm going to very simply just analyze certain images. So we can do that even in the Azure AI Foundry, like I said. So we can come to the Azure AI services on the left-hand side, and you can see all the services have been incorporated over here. So we have the speech, we have the language, we have the vision and the document. So let's look at these services. So one way is you can use them on the Azure AI Foundry. The other way is you can write an application, a client application. You can write it and you can use them. So I will show you some of them, not all, because we will run out of time. So very quickly. So once you know all, you know, I mean, once you know one service, then it's just that the code is going to change for them. And you just have to write the client application. That's it. There is no difference at all. Also, another thing, guys, my colleague Shubh has been posting the feedback link in the chat. Just a request to everyone that please take some time out of it. I'll again paste that link here. So just a request, if you could give us the feedback of this webinar. How did you find this webinar? Was it informative or not? So just would love to hear it from everyone. If you haven't still given us the feedback, just a request, please kindly do so. It's really valuable to the team and me because we have put in a lot of efforts. We're sitting on a Saturday. You are sitting on a Saturday and you are listening to us. So just a request, if possible, just give us your feedback, whatever it is. There is always scope of improvement, right? So please be honest and give your feedback. So please do not leave the meeting without giving us the feedback. Okay, just a request, whoever is listening, whoever is there, please just do give us your feedback. Now let's just explore these services one at a time. And then what we will do is I will show you all how to write a client application for the vision service, how to analyze the images and develop a client application because, like I said, I want to leave you all as soon as, because otherwise, once you know all of this, like I said, you know one service, then it's just the coding, the logic also to the code is the same. It is not at all different. So half the time here, you will have to work because as the certification says, AI engineer. So you are a developer. So here in the exam, another thing I forgot to mention that when you go and you give the exam, the primary requirement is that you know at least the Python language. You have to be aware about the Python language, because though they're not going to ask you any practical questions or any practical implementation is not going to be there, but there is going to be, like I said, practical based scenarios, practical or real life scenario questions will be there. So if you don't practice the labs or do the demos and go through the code, because in the section 2, at times there are questions that they ask you about fill in the blank, like I said. So they ask you to fill in the code also. From the drop down, select what will complete the code. And if you're not aware about the Python code, because in this exam, earlier, like I said, C hash or C sharp was allowed, but they have deprecated that, and now Python has become the primary language that you need to know. Okay, so over here, it is very important that you know, at least you should know Python language. And this training, because it's so vast, there are so many modules, at times we struggle to complete all the modules. So we can't expect, I mean, you can't be expected during the training to explain the Python code or explain the functions. So here I just explain the gist, and then we just understand how the client application is built, and then you can definitely customize it if you know the Python language, right? So that is what you should know when you go and give this exam. It is very, very important, right? So now let's just go ahead and very quickly, very simple examples, we will just explore of these. So here I'm going to go to the vision and the document service. So here let's just analyze certain images. So when we talk about the computer vision service, okay, so the computer vision service, the main data, because data is not just going to be in files. Okay, data is going to be as images, audio, video, right? As documents, wherein you have to go extract the data and etc. So it's not just going to be in the form of a file, a text file or a document, I mean a Word file or an Excel file. It is going to be different. We know that, right? Data has 3 types to it. That is structured, unstructured, and semi-structured, correct? So these are the different types of data that is there. So we need to know also how to work with the unstructured data, right? We need to also know how to work with the unstructured data. So here, that is what we are going to do. So in the image or the computer vision service, there are certain capabilities it has. One such capability is if you give an image and you tell, okay, in this image, tell me what are the objects in it, recognize the objects. So let's say you have a fruit, basket of fruits, or 3 fruits only, let's say apple, banana, and orange, and you want to detect them. So you can use the object detection, which will detect the objects that are there in the image. It could be any object. Okay, all of them are going to be detected here. Okay, so we will also see it on the code. The coding part I'll also explain to you all. So you can do that. You can caption the images. Caption meaning write a sentence, a human readable sentence. Exactly what is this image talking about? That is what basically is a caption. Then you can have multiple captions created based on the objects that are seen. So that is not, so here between the difference between image captioning and dense captioning is that it is going to create only one sentence in the image caption, only one caption. But in dense captioning, it is going to give you multiple captions for that same image. Okay. Now, another thing that you can do with the vision service is OCR, which is called as the optical character recognition. Now, what is the optical character recognition? Let's say you have a handwritten note, okay, or you have certain data that is written on the image, but it's in the background or something. Some printed text is there, like how we have that business cards, right? On the business cards, the text is generally printed. So if you want to analyze the words, the text in that image, then you can definitely use the OCR of the vision service. So there is an OCR even in the document, but there is a difference between the two, which you will have to read. What is the difference? Nobody is going to actually ask you also the question the difference between OCR in vision service and OCR in document, but there also this technique is used. Okay, this technique is also, just wanted to bring that point to your notice. So here, let's just do one thing. Let's just use the AI Foundry and very quickly use the vision service. So here, I'm just going to go to the image captioning and I am going to select this service that I have. Oh, sorry. I have to create this thing. I have to create because the region is not supported. So let me just create a very quickly new. Just have to change the region. Go with Sweden Central as of now. Change the resource group. So this is within the AI Foundry that we are creating the vision service, whatever is there available on the portal we are using. But again, I told you that we can also create these services as standalone or single service, right? This is also what we had discussed. So let's see how to create a single vision service in the Azure portal. So let's just see that. So any service you name, you want to create an Azure translation service, language service, you can do that over here. Just come to the more services option. And can you see you have this computer vision? So you can very easily create this. So I'll create it in the same resource group. I'll select a new region and I'll give it a name. So I'll call this as webinar computer vision service. And I'll just go for the free tier. Here we need to just enable this. Okay, so this is how you create a vision compute. Like I said, a standalone service. If you have to create, this is how you create. So we'll just see the status here. So let it create. So here I'll just click on the review plus create button and create the vision service also. Now let's say I want to build a custom application around it. So I will not be able to use the vision service that is there over here, but I will be able to use this vision service and I will be able to create a custom client application over here. So we can do that. And that is what we will be seeing here. So let's just create this. So it has created this. So over here, if I go to the Azure AI Foundry, I go to the computer vision service. If I just refresh, you should see a vision service has been created. So go over there. And if you go to that single service, in the single service, you have something called as resource management. Now, inside this resource management is where you will find the keys and the endpoint for that single service. Can you see? You have the key and you have the endpoint of the service. So now when you have developed, so over here, let's say I've written a client application. So over here, I was analyzing. I have the code ready. That is the image analysis. So over here, let's say this is the code. So we are using the library and we are performing all the things that we saw on the project. Okay, let's just see if the project is ready. It's still creating. Yeah, it's done that. Go to the vision. Let's just see this. This is not working. Just for now, I'll just create this because I just want to show you all. So this is the code that is already there. We can, in the environment file, what I can do is I'll just add these details here. So like I said, if you go to the resource management of the standalone service, you can see the keys and the endpoints. So I'll just copy, what was the first thing that we have? I think it's the endpoint. So I'll just copy the endpoint here and just replace it here. The same thing. I'll do it for the key. It's very simple. It's not at all difficult. Just have to create that service. Either you do it as a whole. So if you have to do it as a whole, so you'll have to come to the Foundry. And in the Foundry, if you come, okay, it has created this. So if you come to models and endpoints, or you go to Management Center, and in the Management Center, you will see the connections that are there. You can add a connection here. So you can definitely add any service. You can link it to this, or you can just use them. Over here, you can just come and you can use it. So you can just go to the vision and we can just do some captioning. So you can add a caption here. It'll use this resource. So I'll browse for a file. I'll select for a file. So I'll browse for a file here. And any image, if you want, you can just upload. So I'll just upload a sample file. I'm going to upload this first. So what it is going to do, it is going to generate some caption. So can you see a woman and a girl in a grocery store? So it is just generating a caption here. You can browse for another file. And for that also, it will generate a caption. So you can see this is the model that has already been trained. So we are just using that model. You can add another image. So it is giving you some captions. You can also use the dense captioning that is there. So you can even use that. And you'll get multiple captions. So if you go browse for a file, give the same images. And you will see a list of possible captions. And to that, can you see it is also giving a box? So this box is called as the bounding box. Okay, it is called as the bounding box as well. Okay, so this is what is the bounding box. No, we can't change the caption. There is no way because the image service is generating those captions. So there is no way we can change this. Okay, whatever the model understands from the image, because this is not a custom model, right? So even when you create your own models, you will have to give what it is going to determine over here, right? So this is the dense captioning, and it is also giving a bounding box. Okay, where is this caption? To which section is this caption being added? All the details you can see it is adding and giving it a caption, a text that human can read, right? So this is the dense captioning you can do using the image. You can also detect the objects from this. So if I browse for a file, I give this. So you can see that it is detecting the objects here. So you can see below when it is detecting the objects, below that there is a percentage value that it is giving. Now, what is this percentage value? So whenever any model, any AI model that you are training or you're developing, okay, I told you about the model performance. It is very important, right? You have to, whenever you train or deploy a model, how good the model is responding, that is determining the performance of your model, right? That is what basically your model is going to talk about. So over here, okay, the same thing, if I want to see for my images, how good or bad the captions that it is determining, what is the performance of that. So one such performance parameter in images that we have is called as a confidence score. Now, what is this confidence score? The confidence score means that it is how confident it is with detecting that, okay, this is an apple, this is a banana, this is an orange. It is giving it to you in terms of percentage. So normally the confidence score lies between 0 and 1. Okay, that is the better, higher the confidence, that means the model is good, it is a performing, it is able to detect or analyze the images, even in speech, or when you go for language, there also you get these kind of analysis that you can do. Okay, so this is what is in terms of percentage that you see below. That is nothing but the confidence score. How confident is the model that, okay, this is an apple, this is an orange, this is a banana. Okay, that is being given to you in terms of percentage. So this is the images. You can also go with OCR. Like I said, if you have any handwritten text and a credit card or something, and you want, not credit card, sorry, a business card or something that you want to analyze. So you can even do that here, or a letter, some text that is printed. So you can definitely analyze that also. So you can see it is giving you the output. Okay, so this is the OCR model. In the image service, you can give a letter. So every word in the letter is going to be listed down. It is going to be broken down and given it to you. So it's trying to read it and it is giving you the output over here. Okay, so this is the image analysis you can do. You can write you have dense captioning, you have image. Another thing that you can do is face. So if you want to detect faces, so that is also possible here using the computer, using the face service. So you can detect the faces, recognize the faces over here as well. So it's very simple. So I'll just add new data to this. So I'm going to add one image at a time. So it's going to detect, and all the attributes also. It is going to detect here. So is there any face mask, or is there any other details that are there? So you can see it is determining that over here. Correct? It is detecting that, okay, there is only one face. There is no mask blocking it. Okay, you can, if you go to the JSON format, you will see certain facial attributes like pupil. How is the pupil? Is the eye open or not? Okay, all those. Where is the alignment of the mouth? And where is the face exactly? All the attributes of the face. It is determining that also over here. So you can browse for a file. Is there any object that is occluded? Is there any occulsion in the face? Occulsion meaning anything that is obstructing the face. Okay, that detection also you can see it is going to do, but you need that image, of course, for doing that. So you can even browse for another this thing. And here there are two faces. So of course it is going to detect two faces, and both the faces don't have a mask. So you can also add another image. Let me just check whether I have that. Mhm. I don't have that image, but yeah. But this is how you can use the face service also. And of course, you can individually create them. So you have to just go to the models and endpoints, click on deploy base model. And this is where we created the model first. So once you create the model, any chat model that you like, LLM you want, you deploy them. And once you deploy them, I'll go to the other project. So once you deploy them, there you get the option to open it in the playground. And in the playground on the left hand side, if you see, you have this add your data, and this is where you can add the data source that we had added, the knowledge source that I had added over here. So you just click on it, and whatever knowledge source you have, just select that and browse for it, because we had loaded it in the data Azure AI Foundry only. So I'm using that as my source, and you can ask questions over here. Okay. So this is the vision service that you can use on the Azure AI Foundry. You can write an application. So you can use it as a single service. So we will see how to do that. So over here, I have this environment variable file. I have the code here. So I'm just going to now run this application. So I'll call this Python. So I have three images. I'll show you all the images also. Okay, so these are the images that we are going to analyze. That is the building that is using the computer vision service. So this is a building. Then we will be analyzing the this image. So we will be trying to detect the objects, trying to understand this. Okay, we will be also looking at one more image, that is this, trying to detect the objects here. Okay, give it a tag, give it dense tags, all those things. We will be trying to do that. So let's just run a Python application here. Very simple. I have the application ready. Image analysis dot py. And you can see it is going to start. There's some error in the code. Okay, that image, it is not supporting it in that region. So we'll have to change this region also. We can't even change the region once we deploy it. We'll have to delete this. Let me go with West US. Let's just see if it is supporting in this region, because it's not supported. So I don't know why. Because this code worked otherwise. Okay, so it has done that. Let's go back to the computer vision service. We will use the other one in the West US. Go to the resource management. So every service, guys, when you create, whether it's the language service or it is be the speech service or whatever, you will require the keys and the endpoint. So you will have to go to that service individually and you will have to get it. So I'll copy this. Very quickly, just change this. Yeah. So if you see it is done, it's done some image analysis. So here I'd used this first image, that is the street.jpg file. I had used this and you can see it is doing some analysis. It is creating an caption. It is creating certain dense captions. So you can see the confidence score is also mentioned and it is generating some tags, detecting the objects over here. And you can see now it is saved these in a file. So you can see an object file will be created. If I go to the VS Code, you should see an objects.jpg. So it is creating, adding the tags, detecting the objects, all those things it has saved in an objects.jpg file. You can even change this. So here it was using the street JPEG file. Now let's say I want to give it a different file. So what I will do, I'll just run this code in a different way. So I'll come here and I will mention the file. So I'll go with person. I think it's person.jpg. Yeah, person dot, sorry, not here. We will not be making changes. We'll be adding something here. So I'll say images slash person.jpg. And now what it will do, instead of taking the street file, it will take the person that where we saw Satya Nadella. So you can see it's giving a caption, it is giving a dense caption, objects are dictated, tags are added, and you can see this object file is also going to change. Right? This is also changing. You can give the third image, that is the building. So that also you can add here. So you can just say building and you can do the analysis over here as well. Okay, so you can see that the objects file is changing. It is giving it a tag. So this is a tag. It has detected the objects and it is saving it to an objects file, which we can download and it can be saved over here. Okay, so this is how you can create a custom application and use the endpoint, the resource from the resource management. You can do that likewise for the language service, for the translation services, anything that you like. So in the translator services, if you want, or the language service, you want to do, you create that particular service here. You will go to the resource management and create those endpoints. Okay. So the same thing we can even do if you want to use the Azure AI services here. So you can do the same thing with language and translation. So you can come and you can 1 second. Where is that? You can definitely analyze certain sentiment, analyze or detect the languages also. So that is also possible here. So you can even do that using the language model that is there. So you can analyze text. So you can just in the portal also here you can do it. So we'll just see one example. So when you're working with the language service, now there are certain things that you can do with it. You can extract information. So you can extract certain key phrases. So if somebody has said something and you want to extract the key phrases from it, you want to extract information from it. So you can do that. You can extract certain entities from whatever somebody has said. You can extract that. So if you go to extract named entities, you can even do that here. So you can see we have lots of options. So here, let's just extract some entity. So I'm just giving it a text very quickly. We will just see one example of each. This is an old hotel. It has been around since 1950s. Okay, something like this. And the furnishings are average, becoming a bit old now and require. So I'm just giving some information changing and require the changing. The internet didn't work and had to come to one of their office rooms to check in for my flights home. The website says it's close to the British Museum, but it's too far to walk. Okay, so you can just give some text like this. So what it will do from this text, it is just going to extract certain entities, named entities. So location, so you can see hotel, that is a location, organization, that is a royal hotel. Again, city, you have a country. Okay, again, it is going to detect the location, date. So these are entities. Can you see it is also giving the confidence? Like I said, it is going to give you a confidence score over here. Okay, so that is what it is doing. You can even extract the key phrases. So this was the named entities. All those entities like location, date, all those things were extracted. Here it will also extract some key phrases because let's say you are running a recommender system or a feedback system and you want to get that. So you can just say good hotel and staff, the Royal Hotel, London, United, or you can just say UK. Why do you want to say so much? You can just add a date, clean rooms, good service, great location near Buckingham Palace and Westminster, sorry, Abbey. Okay, so you can add this and so on. So somebody given a feedback here. We thoroughly enjoyed our stay. The courtyard is very peaceful and we went to a restaurant which is part of the same group and is Indian, okay, with Michelin star. We had the taster menu, which was fabulous. The rooms were very well appointed with kitchen, bedroom, lounge, and enormous bathroom. Thoroughly recommended. Okay, so you can just add this over here and you can just extract the key phrases. So there it was detecting the entities. So here also it is detected, but it will also detect certain key phrases. Okay, if you go below, you can see, second. No, it's not. Something's not working. So you can detect key phrases, I'm sorry, it didn't work. But yeah, you can detect all of those things. You can also detect the language. So you can also use that. You can also detect the language and the sentiment that is there. So give, like, if you want to say we get, so this is German and you want to detect what language it is. So just run this and you will see, okay, it is detected the language, which is German. Okay, and you can see it's confident about it to be 100% correct. So you can run a translation, you can detect the language. Another thing you can do is you can translate also, not translate here, but there is another service you can detect, translate the text. So this also you can do. You just have to use this model. Okay, now similar to the vision service that we saw, again, there is a code for everything. You have to just refer to that code and the code is going to just be the same. So here, if you want to work with the language service, you want to detect and analyze the text and etc. So you have a language service, the code is the same things it is going to do. It is going to detect the phrases, the sentiment that is there, the entities that are there. Sentiment meaning whether when you give a feedback, whether that feedback is a positive feedback, negative feedback, what kind of feedback is there, it will detect that. So this is your language service. You can also use the document service, right? If you want to detect the documents. So that is also there available here. So any document you want to understand, so you can just go ahead with that. So let's go with some. So over here, you can just give some receipts. You can upload your own data. So if you see there's an OCR model also. So these are different models in the document intelligence. So there are certain structured documents that we have, right? There is a structure to certain invoices, to certain forms, to your driver's license, and etc. So if you want, you can use those pre-built models. So these are the pre-built models that are there. So you have the insurance, receipts, invoices, okay, cards, credit cards. You have, or if you want to give your own custom this thing, so you can even create a custom, uh, write a application for it, and you can perform the document analysis. So again, you give the endpoint, you give the document, which model do you want to use? It is a pre-built model or is it a custom model that you have of your own? And you can just use them and detect the data or extract the data from that document. So you can just analyze the forms. So over here, I go to invoices. And if I just browse for invoice, so here we have some invoice. If I open that and I browse that, or I run the analysis here, so it's going to use the pre-built model for the invoice and it extract information. So can you see this is how it is going to extract the information? It is going to extract the amount, the billing address, okay, of the customer, then the contact details, all those things. You can see the items, what items have you placed, when was the invoice made, all those details. Can you see it is extracting from the invoice? And there is a structure that is already predefined and you are extracting that over here. So can you see? So this is for the invoice. You can go for if you have some forms or something or receipts. So you can even add a receipt here. So I have a receipt here that I can add and it will use that predefined model and it will run the analysis. So just click on the run analysis button and it will extract the information. Can you see on the right? It has extracted the information. What is the address? What is the items? What is the total, etc. Subtotal. You can see the total. What is the tax that you paid? What is the what is the items that you purchased? All that information, you can see that it is extracted using the receipt model. So we all know that certain receipts, invoices have a structure to it, credit cards or your driver's license and etc. There is a certain structure to it. It's just using that predefined thing and it is analyzing the data. So you can use these pre-models, pre-built models, or you can use a custom model also, and you can use the document intelligence service and extract the information. So guys, now we will stop here. I don't want to, I've already gone beyond time as I promised. So here, let's just stop the webinar. Okay, that's it. So this is just an overview. Like I told you, there is lots to it. Okay, there is a lot of things that are there in the AI 102. So every model, we take one day to cover it. So in this is just an overview, right? So that's it from my end. All the best, everyone. Have a great weekend. I'm really sorry we extended the session. Please do not leave the meeting without giving your feedback. I know towards the end it was a little rushed, but see, once you know how to work with one service, the same thing is just the code. Let me just share all the code with you all before we leave, before you all. So this is for the AI service, the generative AI. This is the labs you can refer to. So these are the rest of the labs that you all can refer to. So that is it from my end. So this is just an overview session, just a webinar. So yeah. So we can stop the session here. Thank you everyone once again for attending the session over the weekend. Please have a great weekend and enjoy the rest of the evening. I will see you all in the future webinars that are there. So Shubh, if you're there in the session, we have completed the session. We can just, yeah. So thank you everyone. Please do not leave the meeting without giving us your feedback. Okay, please do not leave the meeting. The feedback link has been shared in the chat. Please do not leave without that. Just a request to everyone. Please give us your feedback. So thank you so much, everyone, and have a great evening.